Hey guys, so if you haven't seen my last video, I have my new spike system that's behind me. Today, in this video, we're going to be going over the auto calibration for the PIDs on the control panel. So Spike recommends doing a couple things before you brew. One of them is to calibrate your PID for your hot liquor tank. Apparently, you don't need to do that for a boil kettle. I'm assuming because really the boil kettle is just going to tell you the temperature and what it's boiling at. The calibration on the hot liquor tank is obviously a little more crucial, but I'm assuming you could also auto calibrate on the boil kettle as well, which I may do. The other thing is to clean it. So in my last video, I had mentioned about passivation, which most stainless steel things apparently need that. Spike actually puts in one of their inserts that you don't need to do that. So what they say, and I'll show you the insert. Let me just flip the camera. So what Spike says, and you can see their little blurb right here, the note on passivation, that passivation is a buzzword and that you don't actually need to do it. Apparently, once you clean with some good soap and water, oxygen's going to form that barrier you need, and you really don't need to waste your star sand. So I'm going to take their word for it because they know what they're talking about. It's their stuff, so we're going to go with that. So with that said, what we're going to get ready to do now is calibrate the PID. After I'm done that and I'm getting ready to transfer the water out to put my brewing water in, I'll clean up everything, I'll soap everything down, then I'll rinse real well, and we'll go from there. So let me show you the setup. So right now everything is out, but it's not how it's going to be permanently. You can see here my two tables, I don't have the wheels on them right now. I need to cut those legs, so I need to get a stainless steel pipe cutter to cut those. But right now you can see everything's hooked up. I also don't have a mount for my panel yet. Since I have limited wall space here, I'm gonna actually build a mount that's gonna be on wheels that I could just wheel out for brew day. So you can see here I don't have much wall space. Up there is where I was thinking, but that's pretty high. I'd be looking over eye level to kind of work on the panel, so I really don't want to put it up there. And unfortunately, this wall is not big enough to hold the panel. So with that said, we are just going to keep it on this table for now. And you can see I have all of the wires kind of away from my liquid. There's my pumps down there, my mash tun over here. One thing I will note with these, make sure you don't have a lot of torque on the wire to your elements. Back here, this one's a little tight. I really would rather not be that tight. But the reason being is if you watched my last video, there has been problems people have been having with the cord melting. The major issue I've seen with that is that people are putting too much tension on that cord. So make sure you don't have that cord pulled too tight. But other than that, everything else is good. You can see all the temperature probes hooked up. And here, I don't have the pumps hooked up, but they'll hook up as well. Everything's hooked up down there. Here is the panels on. Here's what the alarm sounds like. So we have it set to 5 seconds. Oh, might need that on. So that's what it sounds like when you hit that. Alright, so what we're doing here now is we are going to turn our hot liquor tank on. So we're going to do that here. And right now the element is doing nothing. What I'm going to do is set the temperature to, in order to calibrate, we need to set to 150. So right now you can see that I was coming a little closer, so we're set to 150. We're going to set. That means the element is on and running. And that's all we're going to do for that. What I'm also going to do, since I have the 50 amp, is I'm going to also calibrate my boil temperature. And do the same thing. I'm going to set that to 150 as well. But I'm going to keep that element off just so I'm not getting to my calibration point at the same time. I'd rather kind of stagger it. I'm going to start that probably when this gets to 100 degrees. Alright, so we're going to let that heat up. Here is the hot liquor tank. Oh, whack that. You can see the element gets a little fizzy when it's running. And not feeling too much temp just yet. But there you go. So that's running. We're going to turn our fan on low just to have that on. And when this gets up to temp, we'll go over the next steps of the calibration process. So we just got to 150 degrees on the hot liquor tank. It took just over a half hour to get there. Not too bad. So over here you can see the instructions Spike gave. We're going to do the auto tune now. So let's get that set up. Okay, so according to the instructions here, we're going to auto tune for about 30 to 60 minutes. So what that's going to do is dial in the hot liquor tank because our control of our mash is going to be there. So the hot liquor tank element is going to constantly be on auto, so it's going to try to keep that range. Now on the boil kettle, I did a little research while I was allowing the temperature to climb. I actually don't need to calibrate that because the boil kettle, we're just going to set the element to 100% to get to a boil, and then we're going to lower that. So I'll show you what that looks like. But since we're not running the boil kettle at an auto, unless we're doing like a Whirlpool edition, we really don't need to do the calibration on the boil kettle. So let me show you what it looks like to run that on a percentage. So here's our boil kettle. Now I have the element off, so that way we don't, whatever I do here won't change it, but you can see I have it running as a percentage. So you can see here I have this ran at 150, but over here it's set as a percentage. So if I want to change that now, I can run the element based on the percent of output that I want. So if we were boiling a full boil, we'd put it at 100%. So we're going to get there. There you go, 100. And then you would just hit set. And you're good. So now if I were to turn the element on, which I can do with this because this is the 50 amp control panel, you just flip this on. And now we have our element running at 100%. So now you can see we're still running the auto tune. You can see in the bottom right, I don't know if that'll focus for you. You can see that bottom left hand corner is reading ATU, which means it's calibrating. So all that's doing now is just kicking the element on and off, and it's going to maintain that 150 degrees. So that way when we're doing our mash, we can maintain our mash at the perfect temperature. Alright, so that's really all it takes for the auto tune. So when this is done, I'm gonna run my pumps, make sure all my connections are tight. You can see here I have my pumps over my bucket. I'm going to eventually mount these to this bracket right here, but until I cut my legs, I'm not going to do that. So these are just going to sit there. You can see the way Spike wants you to set it up. They want a dump port, and then this is going to be my out back to my kettles. All right, so let's let the auto tune finish up, and then we will get cleaning. Okay, so you can see now the auto tune is done. The hot liquor tank's holding 150 perfectly. We'll get a blink every now and then. Every time this light blinks, that's the element getting some kind of power. So it'll blink periodically. So it'll drop to 149 and then comes right back up. So that's it for the auto tune process. So now we'll throw some soap in here, dump out the water, wash everything real well, and then we will get on to our pilot batch. So be on the lookout for that video with the pilot batch, and if you have any questions, feel free to comment below.